The capybara moves with an unhurried rhythm, its steps brushing lightly through the grass as it nears the water's edge. Nothing in its posture suggests panic yet, only a natural caution that seems to rise and fall with each breath. The surface ahead appears calm, smooth enough to reflect the faint shimmer of fading light, but something in the air feels slightly off, too still, too quiet, as if sound itself is holding back. The capybara pauses, lowering its head toward the water while its body remains tense, reacting to a disturbance it cannot see. A single ripple breaks the mirror-like surface, widening slowly, hinting at a presence moving with deliberate intention beneath. Below that thin layer of calm water, the alligator advances in a steady, almost mechanical glide. Its form remains hidden except for the faint distortion tracing its path, but its focus is absolute, locked onto the capybara as if the world contains nothing else. The movement is patient, chilling in its confidence, each subtle shift of its tail propelling it closer without sound. The capybara lifts its head slightly, ears twitching, sensing a pressure in the air that pushes instinct to the forefront. It takes a half-step back, not fully understanding why, but reacting to something that grazes the edge of awareness. Above them, perched on a slender branch, a tiny bird watches the scene unfold with quick, restless movements. Its wings flick in small bursts, sending little shivers through the leaves as it adjusts its position again and again. Though insignificant in size, its attention is sharp, following each ripple with a precision that suggests it understands the shifting balance below. The bird tilts its head, feathers tightening as it hops forward, reacting to the gradual approach of the alligator. Nothing about its behavior is random. Every motion seems driven by an unseen urgency that grows with the tension below. The capybara steps back once more, slower this time as the alligator's snout breaks the surface in a near-silent rise. The clearing holds its breath. The bird drops to a lower branch, wings half open, preparing itself for something that has not yet begun. The atmosphere thickens with anticipation as predator, prey, and unlikely observer fall into a silent alignment, each reacting in their own way to the moment that is about to shift everything. The capybara holds still, its body angled slightly away from the water, as if every muscle is waiting for a signal that has not yet arrived. Its eyes stay fixed on the faint ripples drifting outward, each one pulling its attention tighter. The alligator continues its approach with the same unsettling quiet, only the slow lift of its snout revealing how close it has come. The surface trembles around it, soft waves rolling outward like whispers of movement that should not be ignored. The capybara's breathing deepens, steady but strained, its instincts pushing against its hesitation, urging retreat while confusion slows its decision. High above, the small bird shifts again, gripping the branch with quick, nervous claws. It leans forward, scanning the distance between predator and prey with sharp precision, its tiny chest rising and falling in fast bursts. The bird hops once, then again, wings opening slightly as if testing the air before folding back against its sides. Its head tilts in a series of rapid movements, reading every change in the water's surface, every twitch of the capybara's ears, every silent glide of the alligator below. Tension builds in its posture, like a coil tightening, waiting for the moment when instinct forces action. The alligator inches closer, its eyes breaking the surface fully now, reflecting the dim light with a cold, unblinking steadiness. Its body remains almost invisible beneath the water, but the slow rise of its snout tells exactly how close it has come. The capybara senses it before it sees it, stepping back one careful pace while keeping its gaze locked on the shifting surface. The movement is quiet but deliberate, a silent acknowledgement of danger that grows heavier with each passing second. The air hangs still, holding the weight of an encounter that has not yet erupted but feels inevitable. The bird finally reacts, wings snapping open with a sharp flutter that breaks the quiet like a sudden warning. It dives from the branch in a fast streak of motion, cutting through the air with startling precision. The capybara's head jerks upward at the sound as the bird sweeps low, passing directly above the water in a blur of feathers and momentum. The alligator's eyes shift for the first time, tracking the unexpected burst of movement from above. For a moment, all three animals fall into a single line of tension. Predator rising, prey stepping back, and the tiny bird descending with a purpose that has only begun to reveal itself. The capybara stiffens as the bird sweeps past, its sudden movement sending a ripple of tension through the scene. The alligator slows its advance, not stopping, but adjusting, its eyes tracking the bird's low arc across the water. The capybara's attention shifts between both creatures, trying to interpret the significance of the bird's descent. It steps back again, this time faster, the instinct to flee strengthening with the realization that something is shifting in a way it does not understand. The water darkens around the alligator's rising shape, each subtle motion adding weight to the growing danger. The tiny bird pulls upward at the last moment, climbing into the air with frantic beats of its wings. It circles once, twice, maintaining a tight loop above the capybara, as if trying to draw its focus away from the water's edge. The bird emits a series of sharp chirps, quick, urgent bursts that echo faintly through the clearing. Its flight pattern is erratic, dipping toward the capybara before darting upward again, creating flashes of movement designed to disrupt the quiet precision of the predator below. Its role becomes clearer now, not driven by chance, but by a determined response to the escalating threat. The alligator shifts direction slightly, following the bird's movement with a slow roll of its eyes and a subtle adjustment of its snout. For the first time, the seamless glide falters, replaced by a momentary hesitation that reveals a crack in its focus. Still, it pushes forward, its body rising closer to the surface, creating a broader ripple that spreads outward in deliberate waves. The capybara watches the disturbance intensify, scanning the widening circles as fear settles deeper into its posture. It crouches slightly, preparing to leap back if the water breaks. The bird descends again, faster this time, wings slicing through the air with sharper force. It swoops low toward the alligator's exposed eyes, passing close enough to stir a splash from the surface. The alligator reacts with a sudden jerk, its head twisting toward the path of the tiny intruder. The capybara responds instantly, retreating further as the distraction disrupts the predator's perfectly executed approach. For the first time, the alligator's steady confidence breaks, replaced by a flicker of irritation, an interruption brought by a creature far smaller than anything it normally considers a threat. The alligator adjusts its posture beneath the water, its irritation manifesting in a slow but forceful sweep of its tail that sends a heavy ripple rolling outward. The disturbance breaks the fragile balance of the surface, pushing waves toward the capybara's feet. The capybara reacts with a sudden shift, stepping back quickly while keeping its gaze locked on the faint outline moving below. Its breathing speeds up, chest rising and falling in quick pulses that contrast sharply with the alligator's calculated movements. Every instinct in its body warns that the window for escape is narrowing, but uncertainty keeps it rooted in place, just a moment too long. The tiny bird streaks upward again, its wings beating so rapidly they create a faint buzzing sound in the air. It turns sharply, cutting through the clearing in a tight curve before diving back toward the water. Its flight pattern grows more urgent, each pass dipping lower, closer to the alligator's exposed head. The bird's movements create flashes of disruption, small but sharp, forcing the alligator's attention to split between the capybara and the tiny intruder darting unpredictably above. What the bird lacks in size, it compensates for with relentless speed, turning its presence into a constant interference the predator can't fully ignore. The capybara inches backward, its movements more frantic as tension coils through its muscles. Its ears twitch at every splash, its eyes shifting rapidly between the ripples and the flurries of feathers overhead. The bird darts by again, passing close enough that its wings skim the surface, leaving a brief streak of disturbed water behind. The alligator lifts its head higher, irritation sharpening into a more reactive posture as it snaps upward, its jaws breaking the surface with a sudden, forceful strike aimed not at the capybara, but at the bird that continues to disrupt its approach. The attack misses by inches, but its power sends a shock through the clearing. The sound reverberates across the water, and the capybara finally bolts backward in a full retreat. The bird shoots upward in a rapid burst, climbing back to the safety of a higher branch where it lands with a quick flutter of wings. The alligator's failed strike leaves it exposed for a moment, its eyes above the waterline and its jaws still partially open. Tension hangs thick in the air as all three creatures reset their positions in the aftermath of the sudden explosion of movement, each preparing for the next shift in this precarious encounter. The alligator's jaws close with a slow, deliberate motion after the failed strike, droplets sliding from its teeth as it sinks slightly back into the water. The surface settles around it, but the tension in its posture remains sharp, driven by frustration rather than hunger alone. Its eyes narrow, following the capybara's retreat with renewed focus, while the ripples from its lunge continue to spread in widening circles. The capybara halts several steps away, body angled and trembling lightly, torn between fleeing further and staying aware of every movement coming from the water. Its breath comes in short bursts, each one steadying its stance just enough to keep it grounded. Above, the tiny bird clings to its branch, feathers ruffled from the shockwave of the alligator's strike. It shakes itself once, resetting its balance before leaning over the edge of the branch to assess the changes below. Its head tilts rapidly, left then right, reading the positions of both larger animals with the precision of a creature that relies on constant vigilance. The bird's wings twitch, restless and ready, sensing that the danger hasn't passed but has shifted into a new, more volatile phase. Its gaze locks onto the alligator's eyes, bright, fixed and brimming with the intensity of a predator, unwilling to abandon its target. The alligator inches forward again, this time not with stealth but with a more assertive push that disturbs the water in a broader pattern. The capybara responds instantly, taking several steps back, hooves digging into the ground as it widens the distance. For a moment it appears ready to flee entirely, but something in the bird's behavior makes it pause again. The bird jumps from the branch and hovers in a low, tense arc, its movements more measured than before, as if calculating the next opening to intervene. Its wings beat harder, stirring the air with sharp pulses that accentuate the rising urgency. The alligator lifts its snout higher, preparing for another sudden surge, but the bird drops sharply from above, slicing through the space near its eyes in a rapid dive. The predator reacts with another snap, jaws slamming shut just shy of the bird's path. The disruption forces the alligator to shift its posture, slowing its forward movement and giving the capybara a narrow moment to reposition. The capybara steps further back, gaining a few crucial feet of safety, while the bird arcs upward again, readying for another strike to keep the danger at bay. The tension tightens, signaling that the encounter is far from over. The alligator steadies itself after the missed snap, lowering its jaw as it glides forward with a more aggressive rhythm. The smooth, controlled movement from earlier is gone, replaced by a subtle churn in the water that exposes its frustration. Each push of its tail sends deeper ripples outward, carrying a weight that makes the capybara tense even more. The capybara shifts its stance again, legs angled as if preparing to bolt at the slightest break in the alligator's focus. Its eyes remain wide, locked onto the disturbance spreading across the water, while its chest rises and falls in a rapid, uneven pattern that betrays its growing fear. Above them, the bird hovers just long enough to observe the predator's change in behavior, before pulling upward into a tight, circling climb. Its wings cut through the air in rapid, controlled beats, allowing it to maintain a vantage point directly over the unfolding threat. The bird's movements are sharper now, guided by instinct rather than frantic impulse. Its small frame dips left, then right, adjusting constantly as it waits for the exact moment to strike again. Each flutter of its wings sends a faint whisper through the leaves, a subtle reminder that it remains determined to influence the outcome below despite its size. The alligator shifts its weight beneath the surface and begins to rise higher, the outline of its back forming a faint hump as it prepares for another lunge. The water breaks around its snout, forming jagged ripples that pulse outward in overlapping rings. The capybara takes several hurried steps backward, its body lowering slightly as it braces for the inevitable attack. Its instincts scream for it to flee entirely, yet it hesitates, carefully tracking every move of the predator and every darting motion from the bird above. The scene hangs suspended in a fragile balance, predator pressing forward, prey fighting panic, and the bird acting as a small but relentless force, disrupting the predator's rhythm. Then the bird drops again, wings tucked tight as it dives toward the alligator's exposed eyes with pinpoint precision. The alligator jerks upward, snapping in anger at the tiny shape cutting through its field of vision. The sudden burst of movement sends a splash across the surface, scattering droplets in all directions. The failed snap buys the capybara another sliver of time, allowing it to retreat several more steps and widen the distance even further. The bird pulls away, arcing back into the air with a quick flutter before circling once more, readying itself to interfere again as the tension between all three animals escalates toward its breaking point. The alligator slows its movement for a moment, as if recalibrating its strategy after another disrupted strike. The water around it stirs in wide circles, carrying the heavy, deliberate force of a predator preparing to commit fully. Its eyes lock onto the capybara once more, regaining the cold focus that had been fractured by the bird's interference. The capybara stands farther back now, but not far enough to escape the reach of a sudden burst of speed. Its legs tremble beneath its weight, muscles coiled tight, every small twitch betraying how close it is to breaking into a full sprint. The tension between hesitation and survival pulls at every fiber of its body. Above, the bird holds itself steady in the air, wings beating in short, precise bursts that keep it hovering in place. Its gaze follows the alligator's shifting posture, reading the subtle cues in the rise of its body and the angle of its snout. The bird's movements narrow into focused, deliberate motions. The erratic bursts from before have transformed into calculated timing. It dips slightly, testing the air, then pulls upward again, maintaining a tight orbit over the predator. Each flutter carries a sense of urgency, but also of purpose, as if the bird understands that its intervention has become the capybara's only barrier between danger and escape. The alligator begins to rise higher, lifting its head and shoulders above the surface in preparation for a final, decisive lunge. The water cascades down its scales in small streams, exposing the raw power building beneath its rigid frame. The capybara reacts instantly, stepping back with a sudden burst of speed, hooves digging into the ground as it widens the gap. But the alligator's focus remains locked, its muscles tightening in a sequence that signals a strike is seconds away. The clearing feels suspended, as though even the air knows the moment of impact has nearly arrived. The bird chooses its moment. It drops from the air with sudden, razor-fast speed, wings slicing downward as it aims directly for the alligator's eyes once again. The predator snaps upward in a powerful surge, jaws tearing through the space where the bird had been half a second before. The water explodes around the alligator's strike, sending a wave across the surface so forceful it splashes against the capybara's legs. But the attack misses, and the bird shoots upward in a tight climb, forcing the alligator into a position that leaves it momentarily off balance. The capybara seizes that instant, retreating further, gaining precious space as the encounter teeters on the edge of breaking. The alligator steadies itself quickly, its massive tail sweeping through the water in a wide arc that restores its balance with violent force. The surface churns around it, sending ripples outward like a warning that the moment of hesitation has passed. Its eyes rise above the waterline again, narrower, darker, more focused. The failed strike has only sharpened its determination. Each breath it draws seems to deepen the stillness, pulling the environment into a quiet that feels unnaturally heavy. The capybara senses the shift instantly, its body tightening as it prepares for another desperate attempt to retreat. The bird remains in constant motion, circling low in a tight pattern, its wings beating quick, controlled rhythms. It watches every micro-movement of the alligator, the slight turn of its jaw, the flex of its shoulders, the subtle repositioning of its tail. The bird is no longer simply reacting, it is anticipating, reading the build-up of power with uncanny precision. Every downward swoop comes closer to the water's surface, each pass narrowing the predator's options, forcing it to divide its attention between the prey it wants and the threat it cannot ignore. The alligator launches forward again, not with a single explosive leap this time, but with a rapid, ground-eating surge across the shallows. The water parts around its snout as it pushes its full weight ahead, creating a wake that rushes outward in rolling waves. The capybara bolts backward, its hooves digging into the earth as it scrambles for distance, every stride fueled by the instinct to survive. The bird dives sharply at the same instant, wings cutting through the air as it aims for the predator's eyes once more. The alligator swings its head upward in a snapping arc, jaws clashing shut inches from the bird's path, the force of the bite echoing through the clearing. The clash of timing sends water, feathers and dirt scattering in different directions as the struggle tightens toward its breaking point. The alligator presses forward with a force that seems to draw the entire landscape into its momentum, each movement heavier and more committed than the last. Its body glides low, slicing through the turbulent mix of mud and water, as if the resistance fuels it instead of slowing it down. Every push of its tail sends a fresh surge outward, building a rhythm that echoes with predatory certainty. The capybara, now drenched and trembling, pivots sharply, hooves slipping for a split second before catching just enough ground to keep momentum alive. Its breaths come fast, shallow, almost swallowed by the pounding of its heart. Yet it refuses to freeze. The instinct to endure still pulses inside it with raw urgency. Above them, the bird adjusts its path in a sweeping curve, the faint shimmer of its feathers catching light for an instant before it folds its wings and drops lower, aligning itself with the predator's line of attack in a deliberate act of interference. The alligator lifts its head slightly, sensing the shift in the air more than seeing it. The bird's shadow passes over its snout. At the precise moment, the predator lunges again, jaws opening in a wide arc meant to cut off the capybara's escape. The bird cuts downward with a sudden twist, wings beating in sharp, compact strokes as it darts across the alligator's face. Its talons skim dangerously close to the predator's eyes, forcing a reflexive jerk of the skull that disrupts the entire motion of the strike. The alligator's jaws snap shut with explosive force, but they collide with nothing. Only water and empty space absorb the impact. The misalignment throws its balance off just enough that its massive body dips, not deeply, but enough to break the clean push of its momentum. The capybara uses the brief distortion in timing to leap sideways, landing unevenly but moving again before its body fully registers the shock. The bird climbs upward in a tight spiral, but it does not retreat. It angles itself for another run, determined to maintain pressure even as the predator's frustration begins to manifest in short, violent bursts of motion. The alligator thrashes once, twice, sending sheets of water rising and falling around it like collapsing walls. Its focus flickers between the capybara and the persistent flicker of wings above, a division that strains the precision of its attacks. The capybara pushes forward again, legs trembling yet resolute, gaining inches of ground that would have been impossible without the bird's interference. And still the bird dives again, threading the line between danger and intention with unwavering accuracy, turning a hopeless chase into a narrowing contest where survival hinges on seconds and on the courage of the smallest creature in the clearing. The alligator gathers itself for one final charge, drawing a long, rumbling breath that vibrates through the ground before it even moves. Its tail carves a deep groove in the mud as it aligns its body, the predator's focus narrowing into a single, unbroken line locked on the capybara's trembling form. The air grows heavier, thick with the tension of something about to snap. The capybara stops just short of the dense brush ahead, its body shaking, legs threatening to fold beneath it. Exhaustion clings to it like a weight, pulling at each movement, slowing each breath. It turns its head just enough to see the approaching mass, eyes wide with the realization that it has reached the limit of its strength. And yet something inside it holds firm, an instinct that refuses to flicker out, even as the predator bears down with the cold certainty of inevitability. Above them, the bird circles once more, but the pattern is different now, tighter, lower, more deliberate. It watches the alligator's muscles coil, sees the exact moment the predator channels every remaining ounce of power into its final lunge. But this time, the bird doesn't simply dive to distract. It angles downward in a steep, reckless descent, wings pulled in, cutting through the air like a dart. The alligator surges forward, jaws opening in a perfect, deadly arc aimed directly at the capybara's exposed side. Just as the jaws snap forward, the bird slams into the alligator's face, not lightly, not in a passing sweep, but with full force, striking the predator across the sensitive ridge above its eyes. The impact is small in size but immense in effect. A shockwave of pain explodes across the creature's vision, forcing its head to jerk violently to the side. The alligator's lunge collapses mid-motion. Its jaws slam shut against the mud instead of flesh, sending clay and water flying in a heavy plume. The sudden failure throws the predator's weight forward in a messy, uncontrolled slide, its body twisting as it loses balance. The capybara, jolted by the sound, leaps instinctively to the right, escaping the collapsing wave of mud by inches. The alligator thrashes once, twice, trying to reorient itself, but the bird is relentless. It dives again, striking the same tender spot with unnerving precision. Then again, and again. Each hit is tiny, but each one disrupts the predator's ability to see, to track, to regain control. The rhythm becomes steady, wings slicing, talons grazing, beak tapping. An unyielding assault from a creature so small it should never have been capable of defying such danger. Slowly, the momentum of the entire scene shifts. The capybara regains its footing and drags itself toward the brush, disappearing into the thick cover where the alligator cannot follow. The predator heaves, frustrated, swinging its head again as the bird delivers one final pass before soaring upward and away, satisfied that its mission is complete. The clearing settles into stillness, the water calming, the echoes fading. The alligator, realizing its prey is gone and its senses are too muddled to continue, retreats with heavy, begrudging movements into the deeper waters. And so the bird circles once more, lighter now, almost graceful, before drifting toward the trees, leaving behind the undeniable truth that sometimes the smallest creature in the wild holds the greatest power to change everything.